Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt person ever to run for the presidency. The system is also rigged by the donors, giving hundreds of millions of dollars to crooked Hillary Clinton's campaign. It's rigged. It's a bad system.
Donald Trump campaigning in Colorado. He has since been practicing for tonight's final presidential debate. You heard him on the stump, continuing to attack Hillary Clinton for being bound to special interest. But what other areas might he target in tonight's debate? For more, we're very pleased to be joined via Skype by political consultant Roger Stone. Roger's a former presidential strategist for both Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan. He's been a political advisor to Donald Trump for close to 30 years. He's also the author of New York Times best-selling books, including LBJ Killed JFK and The Clinton Women. And Roger, we do appreciate your time on this pre-debate edition of Newsmax Prime. With this debate coming up within an hour, the consensus has been that Donald Trump needs to deliver a knockout blow. Now, Mr. Trump told us here at Newsmax TV he expects a lot of personal back and forth. What do you expect tonight?
Well, first of all, I think he did very, very well in the second debate. He's up against an onslaught from the mainstream media that is unlike anything I've ever seen. News outlets are simply refusing to cover the story of Bill Clinton's abuse of women and Hillary's role in it. There's no real coverage of the corruption of the Clinton Foundation. And he has an embarrassment of riches tonight. Haiti, a scandal. These people are devastated. The Clintons steal everything. Libya. She destroys the standard of living for an entire nation. She casts women back into the Stone Age, and she empowers our enemies. The email server scandal, where the decision of Mr. Comey, the FBI director, the guy who gave Sandy Berger a pass and Mark Rich and Bill Clinton a pass as a deputy attorney general. So I think Trump has a wealth of possibilities. I think to the extent that there's a discussion of these women who have come forward to attack him, JD, he shouldn't spend time on it. It's bogus. These women are not real. It's been traced back to the Clinton Library, the Clinton campaign. Many of these women contacted Trump after the fact, and they never raised any objection. So I would sweep that aside and stay on the issues. How are you going to fix America? How are you going to revitalize our economy? What are you going to do about these trade deals? And he has to keep it. He has to punch home his signature issue, immigration. The fact that he will, no matter what she says, close the borders and reveal the fact that she wants to leave these Syrian refugees in the country in enormous numbers, JD. But at the same time, she's admitted today on the record that there's no way to vet those who are coming here.
You suggest that illegal immigration has been his signature issue. Certainly he broke through with that and went to the top in the Republican primaries with that issue. But there's been another recurrent theme in recent days, Roger, and that is Mr. Trump saying this whole process is rigged, even talking about widespread voter fraud. Here's the way he put it on the campaign trail in Colorado yesterday.
But they even want to try and rig the election at the polling booths, where so many cities are corrupt, and you see that, and voter fraud is all too common. And then they criticize us for saying that.
Now, Roger, we all are familiar with Cook County, Illinois, and Chicago. We've heard stories about Philadelphia. But then there are Republicans like Senator Marco Rubio in his recent debate here in Florida taking issue with those claims. But with Mr. Trump, should he stick with that argument tonight? Do you expect him to?
Well, JD, there's two different issues here. There's the issue of voter fraud, which is people voting more than once, people who are voting in the place of someone who's dead and still on the rolls, people voting in multiple states, people voting multiple times, people not eligible to vote voting. That is one thing. It is more limited, perhaps, than it once was, but it is not, as Barack Obama would say, non-existent. In the next breath, he said we were bringing in the UN to make sure that there was no voter fraud, right after saying that voter fraud didn't exist. The issue here really is election theft. It's the manipulation of the computerized voter machines. You see it when one party is totally in power and therefore there's no checks on them. And it's been done to give these machines a predetermined outcome. Now, a Princeton professor, a Stanford study, an Ohio State study all show These machines can be rigged within 7 minutes using a $15 device that one can purchase at Best Buy or Radio Shack. So we're relying on the political establishment to tell us that they have too much integrity to do this. No, the Clintons would steal a hot stove, and they would certainly steal this election if they have to.
Well, that whole theme of rigging also folds in with the media, and certainly in the wake of the WikiLeaks disclosures and the silence from the corporate media. How does Mr. Trump combat that effectively, both tonight and beyond tonight for the rest of the campaign?
Well, he's a master communicator. Look, his Twitter feed has 6 million people. They have to cover what he says. He needs to recognize that, and therefore he needs to measure his words in a way like never before, stick to the positive, counterpunch in a Trumpian way. I'm not suggesting he shouldn't be Trump. He must be Trump. And he should go after her. I don't have a problem with him calling her a crook. She's a crook. I don't have a problem with him saying everything she's ever touched has collapsed, that she's not an advocate for women, not an advocate for children. He can talk about the Kathy Shelton case and the fact that she laughed about the guilt of her rapist client after bullying a 12-year-old girl on the stand with made-up evidence, made-up facts, I should say. Any of these things Trump could talk about, or none of them. Only Donald Trump decides what Donald Trump will say.
Right, and you, off the cuff, point out a litany of targets and disclosures that have been, by and large, ignored by corporate media. Mr. Trump today in preparation, apparently somewhere along the line involved in preparation too. Honestly, Roger, knowing Mr. Trump as you do, is he the kind of guy who sits down and drills and gets ready for a debate, or does he follow another kind of pattern and discipline, if you will?
Trump prepares for a debate in a uniquely Trumpian way. He's not a guy to have stand-ins and somebody acts like Hillary Clinton and you practice answers and all that. That's not his style. He takes notes and he thinks and he talks to a variety of people about different issues. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump is the guy responsible for his magnificent rise, where he broke all the rules of politics and got 3 million more votes than Ronald Reagan in the primaries. And he is the master of his own fate in this election, that it is even competitive. And I would concede at this point that she has a small lead, but I don't think it will matter in the end, is a testimony to this guy's ability to communicate.
Well, to that lead that Hillary has right now in most polls, again, the dominant media culture wants to reinforce that as if it is insurmountable. Is it the intention of Mrs. Clinton and the alphabet networks, their cable cousins, and the major daily papers in this country, the notion of trying to suppress the Trump vote, in your opinion?
I don't think it has that effect. In an odd way, it energizes his base. Look, the days have changed since we had 100% of our communications from 3 networks and a handful of newspapers. Now you have outlets like Breitbart and Infowars.com and Daily Caller and other conservative outlets, and they're running very large numbers. Plus, Twitter and Facebook allows the dissemination of political ideas and information. And that's where more people are getting, at least 50% of the people are getting their information. So the old media has lost its monopoly, and they're crumbling. They're losing power, which is why they're so hysterical in this case, because the country's about to elect a candidate who they didn't anoint, and they don't like it.
All right, moving beyond tonight, less than 3 weeks remain. If you're to take a view from 30,000 feet, what do you expect in the final days of this campaign? We've got 30 seconds.
Look, I think Trump needs to remain positive. If he remains positive, he can win. I'll just leave it at that.
Being positive is the most important thing. Roger Stone.
Good. Thank you very much, JD.
It's always good to hear what you have to say, and certainly you know your political history. Roger Stone with his assessment of what Donald Trump needs to do tonight and beyond as this campaign continues. Now, in this special pre-debate edition of Newsmax Prime, John Zogby breaks down the latest polls, plus it's Donald Trump being Donald Trump. He explains in his own words what we may see come to pass tonight. Just part of our coverage here as we get ready for the third and final presidential debate of 2016. Complete coverage tonight on Newsmax TV, and of course, Donald Trump, in his own words, really part of what we call our prime playback. And we'll have that for you right after this.